I feel like there's as good of a time as any. Welcome to another episode of Into the 99, where we've got 99 cards, because Commander's number one. I am one of your hosts, Daniel. I am joined today with Thunder. Thunder, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
Good.
Because you're doing... what I meant to say was, how's your foot doing?
It's getting there. I started doing some physio stuff on it, so it's been good. No more crutches at the moment. Currently over to a cane. We're getting there. I keep making the house jokes. So, but yeah, no, it's been pretty good. Yeah. Also, sorry for not giving you any warning that we were going live there. Just jump right into it, right?
Yeah.
We have we're doing another live brew today because I enjoy live brewing. We're doing Eluge. So our last one kind of went a little long, so I wanted to just jump right into it. I know it's kind of late for you. I'm getting out of bed right now. Nice crack of 12:30 Western time. So I know it's late there. So let's jump into what our commander is and then go from there. I think you have some ideas for it. So the commander we have today is Eluge, the Shoreless Sea. Eluge is 1 triple blue, power and toughness equal to the number of islands you control. When Eluge enters, put a flood counter on target land. It's an island in addition to its other type for as long as it has a flood counter, and the first instant or sorcery you cast each turn costs 1 blue or 1 colorless less for each land you control with a flood counter on it. So, yeah. What's your initial thoughts on this one here?
Well, when I see something like this, it's definitely Voltron as a win con. And if you don't like Voltron, well, you're going to probably want to play a different commander because it's just going to be that way.
That's fair.
Yeah. I could say the second thing that stood out to me was flood counters. Unfortunately, there's only 4 cards at the moment which do flood counter things, and I kind of put 2 of them in a maybe board. But one of them, I think, is playable with Eluge. So I don't know if we want to start there because that's a small category.
Sure. Let's, worst case, we can always leave it in a maybe board too, right? So.
Yeah, because, I mean, we can look at and see what all of them do and then just decide, like, what do we think about that?
Yeah.
So the one that's the most playable, or that looks the most playable, is from the Doctor Who set, the Flood of Mars, 2 and 2 blue for a 3/3 creature that's an alien zombie horror. It has Island Walk, which is relevant in this, and water always wins, so a bit of a long ability. Whenever the Flood of Mars attacks, put a flood counter on another target creature or land. If it's a creature, it becomes a copy of the Flood of Mars. If it's a land, it becomes an island in addition to its other types. So it's another way of, because Eluge puts a counter when it attacks. Same with Flood of Mars. You can start turning lands into islands with it as well. So it kind of gets a double whammy effect going, which I think is fairly cool. And for people who are not familiar with Island Walk, it basically means the creature's unblockable to a player who has an island. So you put the flood counters on your opponent's land so that those become islands, and then you can just attack.
Yeah, I like it. Do we want to do some Island Walk kind of stuff?
I think so. We probably don't need... I mean, it depends. I mean... I didn't try and do too much research into that, but I think there's some creatures that make 1/1s or something with Island Walk, which could be kind of scary. I don't know if you've got any ideas there.
Chasm Skulker, I think, is that one.
Ah, yes.
Is, a 2 and a blue for a 1/1 squid horror. Whenever you draw a card, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and I assume we'll be drawing. And when it dies, you create X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk, where X the number of 1/1 counters on it. So that could be kind of good. And then there's another, it's creatures you control have Island Walk, and people can't attack without it. Let me see what it is here. There should be, it's a big creature, but it'd be a good finisher. And we can cast a lot of our stuff for free. Just trying to find, because I know the picture.
So maybe it's Stormtide Leviathan?
It is, yeah. Stormtide.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put that in my maybe board.
Okay.
So, it's 5 and 3 blue for an 8/8 Leviathan. It has Island Walk. All lands are islands in addition to their other types. And creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. So we maybe want to have some means to give Island Walk to our other creatures, like our commander, because our commander doesn't have that. Or we give our commander flying.
Yeah,
So
I like the flying fish too. I threw a piracy charm in there for that exact reason. It's 1 blue. You choose 1 target creature gains Island Walk until end of turn. Target creature gets +2/-1 till end of turn, or target player discards a card.
So one of the things I was thinking with Eluge is we definitely want to put out lots of lands, as many islands as we can, or just whatever lands we have.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking this might be a deck where we would want to play things like Terrain Generator.
Yep.
So Terrain Generator is a non-basic land that can tap to produce colorless, and you can pay 2 and tap it to put a basic land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. I count that as like a ramp land. There's not too many like that in blue, but it has a sort of twin creature. Let me find that. I'm getting used to my new scrolling. Walking Atlas, and that's 2 for a 1/1 creature construct, and you can tap it to put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So both of those, they're ramp in the sense that if you've got lands in hand, it will let you play an extra land. If you don't, well, you probably need to build your deck better because you should be drawing lots of cards in blue.
Yeah, in blue we should have a lot of ability too. Let's add an Ash Barrens in here.
Okay.
As I don't normally run a lot of lands, but we need lands out, right? So this is going to let us just go basic land cycle to grab another one, or we can put our flood counters on it. Eluge is when it attacks or enters, put a flood counter on it. So we want, I assume, some ETB, but let's finish up some of our stuff. I think an Armillary Sphere could be good.
Yep. I was thinking that would be a nice way to get a few extra lands in your hand. We could also consider going very heavy into the draw or the cantrips.
Yeah.
There's a thing to consider though. It's because of how Eluge works. What you ideally are going to wait for is get a couple flood counters on some lands, and then that can start allowing things like your cantrips to be free in your opponent's turn, because this is like, it's each turn, so your turn and your opponent's turn, so you want to make maximum use of that, and the cantrips work really well with this because they kind of replace themselves, but you kind of also want to have like draw 2 type effect. So maybe what we would classify as a cantrip in an Eluge deck is actually a 3-mana card draw that draws 2 cards at least.
Okay.
And because of that, it's like, well, in the early game we might struggle a bit. So we might actually also want some cost reducers that can kind of partner with you struggling to get enough flood counters onto things. So I think what a lot of people do with this is they have 2 types of ramp. They'll have the sort of just the put the basics out kind of ramp, or just get more lands onto the battlefield. And then the other is, let's reduce the costs of our instants and sorceries so that we can still cast those fairly early on. Late game, it maybe doesn't matter, but it helps also for the second and the third spell we might want to cast.
Okay.
So,
let's I added a few things here. So I added a demolition field just to give us a little bit of destroy someone's lands if they're a problem. It also tutors us up a land, which is kind of nice. And then I added a Dreamscape Artist. It is 1 and a blue. The ability on it's a 1/1 human spell shaper. It's 2 and a blue. You tap it, discard a card, sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So a nice way to turn one land into two. We should have decent card draw in this deck, I would assume. What do we have for options that we can blink? Let's get a Soul Ring in here, by the way. I feel like we want one. And then there's another thing that's sort of like our commander that I want to add before we go any further, and it is going to be As Foretold. As Foretold is 2 and a blue. The beginning of your upkeep, you put a time counter on it. Once each turn, you can pay 0 rather than the mana cost for a spell you cast with mana value X or less, where X is the number of counters on it. So I think that can actually work pretty good. The ability for us to get 2 kind of free casts. And then I was going to say maybe also not the most budget, but how about I never pronounce it right. I always say Chimley. Let me find this card.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that refers to.
Chimmel, the Inner Sun. So this is just a 6 mana. Our spells can't be countered. The beginning of our end step, discover 5. Exile the top cards from your library until you exile a non-land card with mana value 5 or less. Cast without paying its mana cost and put it into your hand. The rest on the bottom in a random order. So another kind of free cast way.
Mm-hmm. How about a couple more? Let's get some land ramp type items.
Okay, yeah, so let's get back to those. So I just wanted to. Yeah. I've made our little free cast. I'll make this our ramp section, and then do you have any other ones for?
So Wayfarer's Bauble, I think that's a bit of an obvious one.
Wayfarer's Bauble, okay.
Yeah, and a Burnished Heart, even though it's 6 mana, but you know it's going to get you 2 lands. So
still a blocker, which is nice.
Yeah, Burnished Heart's 3 mana for 2/2 artifact creature elk. You pay 3, sacrifice it to search your library for 2 basic lands and put them on the battlefield tapped. We could also play Myriad Landscape so that we have a land that can ramp us as well.
Okay. Myriad Landscape over into the lands. Because we're going into Island Walk, I'd like to put in Theta. Do you know Theta Adele?
No.
It's 1 double blue. This is an Island Walk Merfolk Rogue 2/2. When Theta Adele Acquisitor deals combat damage to a player, search that player's library for an artifact, exile it, then that player shuffles. Until the end of turn, you may play that card. I think that gives us a good chance to steal some ramp. We're already naturally, because Eluge can put a flood counter on any land, right? So Eluge can already give us the islands to Island Walk on.
Why have I never seen this card?
Oh, it's a pretty fun deck to build around.
I was building a Thrasios Merfolk, and somehow I haven't seen this card.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of great artifacts to steal, but a lot of decks right now play things like a Conjurer's Closet. You're seeing more and more of like these Chimmel the Inner Suns kind of thing, right? So there is a lot of cool stuff we can steal from ramp, utility, Solemn Simulacrums in tons of decks, and stealing one of those would be a great steal for us because we're going to go get another ramp.
Yeah. So because we're going to have stuff that can attack freely, why not play the 2 equipment that can ramp us? Or you could say 3 equipment. There's actually 3.
Okay.
The cheapest one is Explorer's Scope, 1 mana artifact equipment. Equip 1 whenever equipped creature attacks. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. It's technically better than Explorer. Explorer just puts the land in your hand. So I do like this. And then the one that people are very familiar with is Sword of the Animist. So that's 2 for legendary artifact equipment. Equip 2. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, which is nice. And then whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for basic land, a land card, and put that into the battlefield tap and then shuffle. Right. And then the one that's maybe not as well known is Bitterthorn. This is Animus. And
does it also get you land?
Yeah, so 3, unless I've read it wrong, but let me read it out.
No, it definitely is, yeah.
So 3 and equip 3, so a little bit more expensive. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Living Weapon. So basically, when it comes in the first time, it's immediately equipped, which is nice. You're basically getting a creature But it's a 0/0 black Phyrexian germ creature token, which gets +1/+1. And then whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So I definitely need to get a bunch of those.
I like that. I didn't know it also ramped that way. I'm throwing in some generic ramp here quickly, just to try help us out. There we go. So I threw in an Arcane Signet. 2 mana, you tap for any commander color, which is a blue for us. A Mind Stone, which is 2. Tap it, pay 1. Tap it, add a colorless, or pay 1, tap it, sack it, draw a card. Sky Diamond enters tapped, it's slow ramp, but I like it. And then Thought Vessel for no max hand size, because we're basically just starting into the deck right now, and I assume we're gonna have a pretty heavy draw ability.
Yep. So maybe that's a good place to go next.
Did you have another Flood Counters one you wanted to put on there?
Well, it's more like to just talk about, see if we think maybe it makes sense. So I'll start with there's basically just 2 other ones, and the first is, it's technically playable, but I'm not sure whether it's worth it. Aquitect's Will. It's 1 blue for a tribal sorcery. Their words, not mine. Merfolk. Put a flood counter on target land. That land is an island in addition to its other types for as long as it has a flood counter on it. If you control a merfolk, draw a card. So if we have enough merfolk, it might make sense. We've got 1 at least.
Yeah. Even in a worst case scenario, right? The fact that we can just get another one because Eluge wants the power and toughness for islands alone already. But on top of that, nothing stops us from just dumping those onto other people's, right? Yeah.
So the cool thing with it is, it's a sorcery, so you can only use it in your turn. But you could just play it after you've got your cost reduction, or you use it to prepare your cost reduction to be better for your opponent's turn, for some instance that you have. The other card is maybe a little bit more risky. So let's see what you think about it. It's called Quicksilver Fountain. It's a 3 mana artifact. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player puts a flood counter on target non-island land he or she controls. That land is an island as long as it has a flood counter on it. So we're seeing a theme here. Flood counter basically makes it an island. At the end of turn, so this is every player's turn, if all lands in play are islands, remove all flood counters from them. So it would...
It works so well for us, but like you said, it is very risky.
Yeah. I mean, if you're thinking about it, if it looks like somebody's going to put the last flood counter in, and you've got a sack land that you put a flood counter on, you could sack that, bring in just a plain land, and then you at least have one...
You have one more turn with it, yeah.
Yeah, 1 extra turn. And maybe that's enough for you to win the game or something. So...
I have a fun suggestion for this one. This isn't in my original one, but these 2 could be kind of fun on a theme. So what do you think about the creature Sea Singer? So Sea Singer's 1 double blue for a 0/1 merfolk. If you control no islands, you bury it. You can choose to not untap it during your untap phase. It has tap, gain control of target creature whose controller controls any islands as long as you control Sea Singer, and Sea Singer stays tapped.
That sounds interesting. I kind of like the idea of being able to steal something.
It's kind of just a nice, like, a side creature thing, because, again, we can give islands out, right? So we're giving islands. We can take a problematic commander away. I think we can do decent stuff with it. And then I was going to say as well, Vidalcan Shackles.
So I like the Sea Singer because you can untap it and give the thing back. Like, you do some politics, give the thing back, and then take something else. Yeah, I like that.
And then Vidalcan Shackles is the same. It's come down great in price. It's only like $9 right now. It's a 3 mana artifact. You can choose to not untap it during your untap step. 2 and a tap, you gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to the number of islands you control for as long as it remains tapped. Same thing, we can choose to give it back. We don't have to just be mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's interesting. It's so in the 8x8 EDH system, when I see something like this, then I try and see if I can get 4 items like that, so that it's like what I call a minimum viable strategy, at least 4 of. So I don't know if there's any more effects like that we can leverage. Maybe it'll just be stuff like steal our opponent's things, or wait, there's a very big bomb spell. Let me get that. I think it's called Clone Legion.
Clone Legion's great, yeah.
Yeah, so we're inevitably going to put out a lot of flood counters. Hopefully we're not going to antagonize the table too much, but Eluge is going to get very huge and it's going to cause problems. People are going to want to remove it. But at some point, we probably, if we spread the islands out a bit, so it's not all just ours, because Eluge looks at just how many islands do you have. That's how big I am. So if you're tactful, you put those counters on your opponent's stuff, then it doesn't get as big that quickly. You can play bigger spells instead of going for the Voltron strategy. So that's an alternative way to go. And one of the things I do want to do with Eluge is counters, because inevitably Voltron type decks don't have a lot of other creatures out and struggle with crackback. And so having things like Clone Legion will definitely give us some counters back if our opponents get a bit further ahead. So I'll read it here. 7 and 2 blue for a sorcery. For each creature target player controls, create a token that's a copy of that creature. So we're assuming here that somebody gets a bit out of control. They got a bit far ahead. Then we use this, and we now have their board.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I like it. Yeah, let's make a category called big spells, because we do get a lot of reduction, right?
Yep. I imagine a lot of people go into the extra turns. I'm not sure that's the direction that I would want to go.
I feel it would feel bad to extra turns out these cheap ones.
Yeah.
But I've got some. So let's find some other big stuff we would like. What's some big draw? I think Treasure Cruise is a big mana one.
Yeah. Because that you can delve, or you can just draw 3. How many cards you get? 3?
Yeah, draw 3. Which we again late game might get. We might get some draw out of it. We still have some big.
Actually, we should probably play the X draws.
Okay.
So that will get us X cards.
So let's
on how much
Treasure Cruise, yeah.
Islands there are. So
Blue Sun?
Yeah. And there's a whole bunch. I think I just captured.
How about Blue Sun's Twilight as well? Blue Sun's Twilight gain control of target creature with mana value X or less. If X is 5 or more, you create a token that's a copy of that creature. And again, we've got a little bit of take control stuff. It's a big spell for later on as well. And it's possibly doubling up a token of things.
Yeah. Another one that works well with the islands is Flow of Knowledge.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, so that's 4 and a blue for an instant, which is what we want. We want those instant speed card draws. Draw a card for each island you control, then discard 2 cards.
Yep, I like that. Let's get there's going to be like a lot of... I feel like one of the strategies we'll want is Blink, right? Because we want to... Eluge is pretty big naturally already. So being able to get it untapped by blinking is kind of nice, and being able to protect it by blinking is kind of nice.
Flicker.
Yeah, Flicker. Yes, it's not Blink. You are correct. I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, this we can say ghostly Flicker. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's we're probably going to want some creatures that ETB trigger as well, but also stuff that reacts to us casting instants and sorceries.
Yep.
So I think the Flicker strategy will probably be like 4 or so cards, maybe 8, depending on how vicious your table is.
Well, let's do... I just put in Displace because it's exile up to 2 creature cards. So if we get anything else that's worth flickering, it's a decent one.
Yep.
Let's try keep it to instant ones so we can do them across people's turns. Blur is a good one. It's a draw, so it cantrips us. Blur is 1 mana. Exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Draw a card, which isn't horrible. And then what else do we want? Do we want to go with maybe an illusionist stratagem? Because it again hits that 2.
And draws, yeah.
Oh, and it does draw 2. Illusionist stratagem. Okay. Let's just make this whole category called Flicker, not Blink.
Yeah. If you want to put some money into it, then you definitely want a Displacer Kitten.
Displacer Kitten could be great.
Yeah. It's 12 euros or so at the moment here in Europe.
It is, yeah. Let's throw Displacer Kitten in the sideboard at least.
Yeah. So for those who are not familiar with it, it's 3 and a blue for a 2/2 cat beast creature, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it's going to be okay for you to flicker your Eluge in your opponent's turn. If you're attacking with it, it's going to tap, and then when you flicker it, it comes back untapped, so that can be useful for blocking and all of that. So that's definitely something we want to keep in mind. I think Thassa Deep Dwelling might be something we want to consider, but again, that's another one of those expensive cards. It's nice because you're definitely going to get her online, and in the sense that she can be used to attack with.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside is obviously that she's expensive and only flickers in your end step. So yeah, I'm not sure if she's good enough for what we want. We kind of want that instant speed trigger, and the Displacer is much more synergistic.
Yeah, I think we want to keep it as much. I think we want to keep as much instant as we can.
Yeah.
Let's get some low mana draw in here quickly, like a brainstorm.
Before we get to that, I've got one card that I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on.
Okay.
There's probably a few that we could go with and get the same ability, but it's Gandalf, Friend of the Shire. So we probably don't care about the ring tempts you part of it, but it's 3 and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature avatar wizard. It has flash, and you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. That's really the part that we may be interested in, because a card like this means that those very expensive sorcery spells suddenly can be used in our opponent's turn. So I'm sure there's some very degenerate ones that you can just suddenly use and then it blows them out.
My only problem is just that if we don't have it, it makes those sorceries kind of dead, right? Because we get that reduction every turn. So ideally, we want to be able to draw on every turn if we can get stuff like that going.
Yeah. I would think of it as an accelerator. It's like if you get it, suddenly things go faster for you.
But Gandalf's, the thing is, right, Gandalf's 4 raw mana, right? And for 4 raw mana, I think we can do a little bit better, like a Magecraft. What's that Magecraft? Archmage Emeritus?
Yep. And then it draws us cards.
Yeah, right. Like because again, I think that we're not going to be. I don't think we have enough sorcery in the deck. I think we have none right now.
Maybe
Clone Legion. I think yeah. Where's the Archmage? Yeah, whenever you cast. Just because I feel like Gandalf's kind of slow comparatively. Our commander's going to be at 4 mana. Like things like an Archmage are going to be there. I just think that we've got better stuff to do with a 4 mana.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you're playing like 2 colors, then that becomes a bit more viable because you can make it more reliable. Or if you have Gandalf as your commander, then it's...
Gandalf's a blast. Like I play a Gandalf deck, and it's like such a fun card, but I just always I want to use his ability as much as I can, you know?
Yep.
What else do we... So we want more... Blue has unblockable. What do we think about some of that?
Yes, definitely.
There's a new one from... it's from Duskmoor, and it's Enter something.
How about... It's a sorcery. Open into Wonder.
Open into Wonder's great.
Yeah. So X and 2 blue. It's a sorcery, and X target creatures can't be blocked this turn. Until end of turn, those creatures gain. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Yeah, that's great for us.
That could just like kill someone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, because Eluge can get so big, right?
Yeah. And if Eluge is big, then this is free. So
unblockable. I also put in Enter the Enigma. That was the one. It's 1 mana. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Draw a card.
Okay. Rogue's Passage, obviously.
Oh, great choice. Yeah. Great choice. Great podcast. Good friends. Rogue's Passage.
Every chance we get, we're going to put a Rogue's Passage in.
I do love Rogue's Passage. There's another one as well, which is not horrible. How do you feel about a Glimmer Burst for an instant?
Yes, I have that one as well. I like it because it creates the tokens. So
yeah, I think it's such a nice draw one because of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you can use in response to someone attacking you as well. So I like it. Archmage
over into draw. Just trying to think. So, do we want to use we're in islands, so we're not really penalized for the thick like blue devotion spells like an Archmage charm. That's 3 blue. You choose 1 counter target spell. Target player draws 2 or gain control of target non-land permanent with CMC 1 or less. To me, that's Take Their Soul Ring.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, because it's like those are the ones that will just be free.
Yeah.
So, and everyone loves free counter spells.
As soon as we get Eluge out, so from turn 4, first instant sorcery you cast each turn. So turn 4, we can start dropping one drops for free, ideally refilling our hand, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to put in our normal kind of draw suite, opt, portent, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we can do that. I would say we can go like deliberate, so like the 2 mana ones as well.
Yeah,
should be fine.
Well, yeah, because the moment our commander drops, they're 1 mana ones, right?
Yeah.
Scry 2 draw a card is great. Scry 1 draw a card for opt for 1. Draw. Okay.
How would you feel about having multiple Eluges?
I do like multiple Eluges. Oh, Arenicus' Vile Duplication.
I've got another one. That's also from the Doctor Who.
Okay.
Quantum Misalignment.
Love that card as well.
So 4 and a blue for a sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it isn't legendary and it has rebound. So
yeah, that's great.
Rebound in your next turn, you'll be able to cast it again.
Those are both sorceries, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sorceries.
Yeah, so 5 mana. Again, we can possibly be dropping that for free. I like that a lot. Yeah. Arenicus' Vile Duplication is 3 and a blue. You create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except the token has flying and isn't legendary if that creature is legendary.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about the rules on this, because they all have the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn costs that less for each land you control. So would you say that triples it?
I don't think it would, because it would still always the first, right? But it'll still be the first is X less, which will still be great.
Yeah, I think it's like a tripler in a sense. For each extra Eluge you have, it will basically count that again. Only on the first spell.
Yeah, exactly. Only on the first. So if we have like only 2 flood counters on, but we have 3 flood counters and 3 Eluges, then our first spell's 9 blue less, which is huge.
Yeah. Plus their commander's still, I believe, right?
Yep. We have a lot of like decent stuff here. Good draw.
I've got another little expensive card. It's not too expensive here. It's about 7-8 euros. But I count this as a super synergy. Sword of Hearth and Home.
Yeah, love that card.
So the reason why this is good with Eluge is because, firstly, +2/+2 gives protection from green and white. That can make Eluge unblockable for some opponents.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile up to one target creature you own, then search your library for a basic land, put both cards into the battlefield under your control, and then shuffle. So after the combat damage is dealt, flicker Eluge. Okay, the sword falls off, but you basically get another flood counter. Eluge is untapped, and you've ramped. So I think that's a win-win.
Yeah, I like that one. It does a lot of what we want to. I say we throw in some more of the. My brain stopped working there. I can't remember what I wanted. What is the word I'm thinking?
Unblockable equipment.
Unblockable is nice. Oh, it was Lear. That's what I wanted to throw in.
Okay.
Where did it go? Lear, Disciple of the Drowned. So this card is 3 double blue, which is pretty expensive in our deck, but it's a 3/4 human wizard. Spells can't be countered, and each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard is flashback. Flashback cost equal to that card's mana cost. So if we are casting one instant, we can cast it on the next turn, right? We can double up across. It's kind of nice because Eluge isn't from hand, right? Yeah, the first instant sorcery you cast each turn. So Lear gives us that flashback a little bit. And then I'm not much a fan of like the counter, like the rewind stuff. But how do you feel about like the frantic search, like the draw 2, discard 2, untap 3?
Yeah, I think that's okay. Because it's actually going to untap your lands. You could like just play it for free, untap 3 lands.
Yep. Which is kind of nice, right? Like the counter spells are kind of going to be an easy way, right? I think you can build a pretty strong Eluge deck by just throwing in your cancel counter spell. Didn't say please, like an offer you can't refuses and stuff. I think if you stack those, but I can see it being inherently not fun. And I don't really like the idea of playing not fun, but I also kind of want to put Harbinger of the Sea, the Island Moon Commander, in there.
Okay.
What do you think about the Island Moon Commander? Is it too mean?
I've never played it.
Let's put it in for now, and let's just see how it feels.
Yeah.
Harbinger of the Seas is 1 double blue. Non-basic lands are islands, and it is a merfolk for our other weird merfolk piece of synergy there.
Mm-hmm. I think we need more card draw.
Yeah. I have one more creature before we get to a card draw. How do you feel about Dika? Dika's it's another slightly expensive piece. It's another 5 mana, but it has Magecraft, so it's 4 and a blue, 3/3 human wizard. Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, you create a 0/0 green and blue fractal, put X/1/1 counters on it where X is the mana value, and it has 3 and a blue, target creature token can't be blocked this turn.
I like that. I think I might have that under my tokens area. No, I don't. Yeah, I like it. There's a lot of potential token generators. So that's kind of why I was saying we should try and let's get like maybe 12 or so, maybe even up to 16. You could say like 12, just these things just draw you cards, instance B, most part. And then you could do like more fair counter spells, stuff that's like, I think it's Arcane Denial. It's like your opponent draws 2 cards, you draw a card kind of thing.
Yeah. Let's get a little bit more of that. Let's get a little more instant sorcery in here, right?
Okay.
How do we feel about like something like Aetherize? Because I assume people are going to attack us.
Yep. I can't remember what it's called. I played one a couple weekends ago, 3 weekends ago, and it was an instant that redirects all the stuff that's attacking you. You have another combat.
I know the one. Yes. Why is it so hard?
I've only played it once, and I can't remember what its name is. It's something's Gambit, maybe.
Illusionist Gambit. I can't spell it all, but this will know what I'm talking about. Illusionist Gambit. Let me see. Where's my? Yeah, 2 and a 2 double blue. Cast only during the declare block step on an opponent's turn. Remove all attacking creatures from combat. Untap them. After this, there's an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures attacks that combat if able. They can't attack you or planeswalkers you control.
Phenomenal card.
Yep. I like that.
I used it in a moment where someone was like, yeah, and I'm going to just like kill you with all these creatures. And then I was like, no. And I apologized to my other opponents and said, I'm sorry, but looks like you're going to take some damage.
How do we feel about a factor fiction? Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent chooses those, splits them into 2 piles. 1 pile into your hand, the other into your graveyard as a 4-mana draw. Not technically draw, but I'm counting it as draw.
I'd go with more X draw stuff.
More X draw?
Yeah.
Okay.
So pull from tomorrow. X and 2 blue, instant speed, draw X cards, then discard a card. One that I like is even the score. X and 3 blue. But this spell costs 3 blue less to cast if an opponent has drawn 4 or more cards this turn, and you draw X cards as well.
That's cool.
Speed.
I like that. Do we want to do like more of that kind of stuff, like a stroke of genius, same kind of thing?
Yeah, we can. I just saw another one of these make things instant speed. It's a cantrip I found from the Lord of the Rings set. Born Upon a Wind.
Yep.
So 1 and a blue for an instant. You may cast spells this turn as though they had flash. So any spells. And draw a card. Now, it obviously is not going to help you with the Eluge situation. So that's a bit of an anti-synergy. But it is kind of nice to be able to pull off playing stuff in your opponent's end step just before your turn starts. Especially if you got something really annoying, like return all your opponent's creatures to their hand. What's this guy? I got him under my sort of Wrath's area. Scourge of Fleets.
Yeah.
So Scourge of Fleets is 5 and 2 blue for a Kraken 6/6. When Scourge of Fleets enters the battlefield, return each creature your opponents control with toughness X or less to its owner's hand, where X is the number of islands you control. Because I kind of feel what's going to happen here is your opponents are going to be trying to put stuff down, and we're going to be basically doing the thing you hate, Daniel, Cyclonic Rift.
Ooh, yeah, Cyclonic Rift, as long as it's one-sided. As long as it's not like for everyone. I hate it. If it's with Scourge of Fleets, it's not as bad.
Yeah, so it's just creatures we're sending back, but it's like perfect for us. Like if you can instant speed, get that thing on the battlefield, put it out. Your opponent's creatures are all back in their hands, and now Eluge is looking very, very scary.
Yeah, I don't mind that one. I have it maybe board for now. There's a few I wanted to throw in. I kind of like that one. Lorien Revealed. You were talking about Lord of the Rings, and I liked that one a lot. Late game, it's going to be a draw 3 for free for us, which is cool. It's 3 double blue, draw 3 cards sorcery, and it has island cycling. Early game, we can go fetch another island, which we desperately want, if possible. Yep. Late game, we can just draw 3. I wanted to do Mnemonic Deluge, because that's a pretty silly one as far as big spells go. Where is that? It's 6 triple blue. Exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Copy it 3 times. You may cast the copies without paying them. If we get something that is like we've got our big spell section, right? If we get a Clone Legion even just into our grave, 3 Clone Legions is game ending. I don't think there's really any way to come back from 3 Clone Legions.
Yep.
Right?
We probably also want something like Curse of the Swine.
Yep, that's a great one.
Yeah, so Curse of the Swine is X and 2 blue. Exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller gets a 2/2 green boar creature token. Now, it's worth pointing out that we could use this to basically convert or to get rid of a bunch of problem creatures. And then after that, we do something like Engulf the Shore or Scourge of the Fleets, and we just return all creatures to our owner's hands, and then all those tokens are gone.
Engulf the Shore is good.
Shore is 3 and a blue. Instant speed, return to their owner's hands all creatures with toughness less than or equal to the number of islands you control. Now, the downside of this is it targets your creatures, but if you've done your work properly here, the number of islands that you have, okay, so it says less than equal to, so we're going to need to have Eluge slightly bigger than that, otherwise it's going to bounce Eluge to our hand. So maybe this is like do this only if you've got the equipment on Eluge that gives +1/+1, then it'll be bigger.
Again, even if we are losing the Eluge, right? It's a reset, and Eluge will just cast next turn anyways. So
we may even be able to cast it straight away because this might be free, right? So,
yep. Well, yeah, it's especially on our own turn. If we top deck something like this, right? We just quickly Eluge for free, dump in another Eluge right back into the field, and have it one-sided.
Yeah.
I put in a bribery because we have a take control section, and I'm mean. Mm-hmm. Bribery is 3 double blue. Search target opponent's library for a creature. Put that land on the battlefield under your control. Then that player shuffles. I personally think they're unbanning Primeval Titan soon, and I yearn for the days of bribery people's Primeval Titans. I'm a simple boy.
I like it.
We've got what are we missing here? Because the
more triggers from the instance and sorcery costs.
Well, we've got a lot. Let's when you were talking about the Engulf the Shore washout, that was the other one. It's flavorful for what we want, and it's mean. Washout is a 4-mana sorcery, sadly, but it is return all permanents of the color of your choice to their owner's hand.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to hit us. We can hit that pesky green token player. We could do the other annoying River's Rebuke or Flood of Tears kind of things, but I don't know if we want to. How about how do you feel about Rite of Replication?
What does that do again?
Rite of Replication is 2 double blue, and it has a kicker of 5. You create a token that's a copy of target creature. If the spell was kicked, you create 5 tokens instead. So early, it's really, really easy for us to clone something for free. Late, 5 copies of something.
I don't know if we'll be able to cast the kicker with the Eluge.
Yeah.
Will it work?
Yeah, you can pay. You pay the additional, so you pay it when you put it on the stack. Rite of Rep.
So, some of the things that I was thinking, like, and I mean, we're already at like 99.
We have a lot of lands. Because I haven't been moving the lands out. We've got 37 lands, and we don't need 37 lands.
So we could try and put in a couple other generators that react to the casting of instants and sorceries. I think the best ones would be things like Elandra Sky Dreamer and Talrand Sky Summoner. So again, these are both merfolk, so we're getting a bit of that merfolk vibe going on. So Elandra is 2 and 2 blue for a 2/4 legendary creature merfolk wizard. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. And whenever you draw your 5th card each turn, Elandra, Skydreamer, and Drakes you control each get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand. I imagine that's going to be a lot. So that is very cool, and they work well together. So Talrand is 2 and 2 blue for a 2/2 merfolk wizard legendary creature. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying.
Yep. On that one, I added a Docent of Perfection, 3 double blue. It's a flying 5/4 horror. Whenever you cast instant or sorcery, you put a 1/1 blue human wizard onto the battlefield. Then if you control 3 or more wizards, you flip it. And its flip side is Final Iteration. A 6/5 flying Eldrazi insect. Wizards you control get +2/+1 and have flying, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you get another blue human.
Yeah, I like it.
So possibly some flyers later on. I know that Alandra gives us good flyers.
And she's a wizard, which is also good.
Yeah. Alandra is great. If we can get Alandra going, is awesome. How do you feel about possibly Min? No, Min's permanence. I was going to say Min Wily Illusionist, but Min is permanence. What do we have for...
There's metallurgic summonings.
Oh, that's great. Yep. That's a perfect one. 3
and 2 blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, where X is that spell's mana value. You can pay 3 and 2 blue to exile metallurgic summonings, return all instants and sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, activate only if you control 6 or more artifacts. So I think one day I want to build a blue and white construct deck, and it's got all the various construct cards in it. Maybe we'll get a commander around that one of the days.
Yeah.
So yeah,
let's
I like
see.
metallurgic summons.
What do we think we're missing? Like, what's a big? We have cool stuff here. A lot of draw. We have a lot of ability to kill people. The commander can just one-shot people if the commander gets through, right? Like it just gets so big so quick.
Copy stuff in. So like, because that first spell is going to be your big expensive spell, but you casting it for free, we could have a small copy strategy of maybe 4 things. So the OG copy is Mirari. That's 5 for a legendary artifact. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 3. If you do copy that spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. So maybe it's a little pricey, but
for us, we're just paying 3 after our free cost, right?
Yeah. So that I think that's one of the things that will give us a lot of value. Another nice one is Primal Amulet. Instants and sorceries, it's 4 mana for an artifact. Instants and sorceries spells you cost 1 less to cast. And whenever you cast an instance or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on Primal Amulet. Then if there are 4 or more charge counters on it, you may remove those counters and transform it. And that should be easy to do. I mean, it's like 1 cycle of cantrips, right?
Yep.
And when it flips over, it's Primal Wellspring, and it's a land. You can tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. When that mana is spent to cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy.
Yeah.
So it should still work when you're copying those big ones, because you can just add the extra mana in. It only benefits 1 usually, but I think it's still worth it, because whatever big thing you're casting, getting a second one is always going to be good.
Yeah, I like it. There was another one I wanted to put in. Oh, it was Rise from the Tides. I added it there. Rise from the Tides is just also good in our token strategy. 5 and a blue. You create a tap 2/2 black zombie for each instant sorcery in your graveyard. Being able to cast that at free and then also, I think isn't too bad. Is there any more static, like blue and red have a lot of like storm-like effects, right? But I'm just wondering, is there anything that copies, like any solid copy spell kind of things?
I know it's just Temporal Deluge, but I don't know. I think that was what it's called. It's kind of like Storm Return stuff. Yeah, I don't really play Storm.
That's fair.
Because of Veyran, it's kind of like...
I love Veyran so much.
I built the really fast Veyran, and then my friends and I, we all went and played Veyran versus Veyran.
I bet that was a nightmare.
Mine was very quick. And they were just like, okay, let's not do that again.
Fair.
So I played it once and then put it in my box and left it on the shelf. So
how do we feel about adding into here a Season of Weaving? because I love these season cards a lot.
Season of Weaving.
Yeah, it's another sorcery. It's 6 mana, so 4 double blue. You choose the 5 pause. So for us, this can be a draw 5. Choose an artifact or creature you control, create a token that's a copy of it. So if we could get something like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Chimmel's legendary, but if we can get a copy of our commander out or any of the tokens, then being able to double it up is great.
Yeah.
But then it also has 3 return each non-land, non-token permanent to its owner's hand. Again, just another way to reset that board pretty much for free and then put Eluge back out.
Yeah, you can also go for 3 steps ahead. Does some similar things. So 3 steps ahead is a blue, and it's an instant with spree. So spree means that you can sort of pay extra to get the abilities that you want. If you pay 1 and a blue, counter target spell. If you pay an extra 3, create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature you control. And if you pay an extra 2 on top of that, then draw 2 cards, then discard a card. I think
I like that one.
Yeah, it's got enough versatility there. You can choose which ones you want to go with. You can go with all if you want as well. And that's a nightmare for your opponents, because let's say they want to destroy your creature, you counter their destruction and then make a copy as well, just to rub it in. So
yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that one.
And if you copy like one of those ones that do the bouncing, then it just goes a bit crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just go have a look. Yeah, if you make a copy of the Scourge of Fleets, well, it's like, well, say bye to all your creatures again.
Yeah, the ability to do that is rough. Just to having like a Scourge of Fleets under a Helm of the Host kind of thing. Ugh. How about adding into here a Complete the Circuit? So it's an instant. It has Convoke. You can cast instant sorceries as though they had flash this turn. It's 5 and a blue, so 6. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it twice. So if that's our first spell, and then we have whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, we do it for free, and then our next spells are going to be doubled up again.
I think I got like 4 or 5 of these sitting in my blue rares, and I can't bring myself to put it into any decks because it feels so strong.
Complete the Circuit's nice. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, if you do like Chasm Skulker into Complete the Circuit, well, the Chasm Skulker has to die, but you get all those squids. Yeah, I can see this. Or just make a bunch of tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had one other one that I wanted. Where was it? And then I'll have to start cutting cards here. It is, what's the name of the card? It was, Copy Land. It's just a simple enchantment, but it gives us a little bit of that land ramp if we want, and lets us hit some of those really, really great lands if some of our opponents are playing them. So Copy Land's just 2 and a blue. You can have it enter the battlefield as copy of any land on the battlefield, except it's an enchantment in addition to its other types. If somebody has something that's a really, really strong land, if you're, I'm going to maybe board it. It really kind of depends on your play group, right? Because I'm thinking I play against lots of people who play like things like a Gaia's Cradle kind of thing, and that could be a great land to copy. But if you're playing mostly like tap lands, then maybe that's not the best one. I was just thinking for my meta, it's pretty decent.
How about this is one that makes me laugh here. I don't know how many people play this, but Gale's Redirection. It's 3 and 2 blue for an instant. Exile target spell, then roll a d20 and add that spell's mana value. And then depending on what that result is, so let's say the spell is like 5 mana and you roll a 4, then it's 9. In the range 1 to 14, you may cast the exiled card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast a spell. So you basically just steal your opponent's nice spell. That could be a little annoying, but then the 15 plus, so if you roll a bit higher or the spell is really expensive, like they're doing their mnemonic deluge, and then you're like, I don't think so. And then you get 15 plus. You may cast the exile spell without paying its mana cost for as long as it remains exiled.
I like that a lot.
I think another cool thing there is if that thing is an instant speed, then you could just use Eluge to cast that thing from exile, right?
Yeah, so get it right back out.
In your next opponent's opponent's turn, then you just cast it then. So yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan of that. There was I wanted to put Blatant Thievery in here. 4 triple blue for each opponent, gain control of target permanent they control. I just want islands. I feel like that's reasonable, but it hits our it hits our draw thing. And then my very last one is Elminster's Simulacrum. This is an instant, which I think is pretty cool. It is 4 double blue. For each opponent, you create a token that's a copy of up to 1 target creature they control. That's a pretty decent 6 mana.
Yep.
So we're not actually taking it. It's another token section. Because we have Lorien, I feel we can drop 1 island.
I think that we didn't put a lot of removal in the deck.
No removal needed. All gas.
Yeah, there's a few. We're basically stealing our opponent's things. So
we're removing it in creative ways.
But if anybody's interested in that, there's plenty blue and colorless removal. So Pongify, Rapid Hybridization, Raven Form, Reality Shift, Introduction to Annihilation. I like playing. That's a bit more expensive. It works here because Eluge will make it cheaper. And then something that's repeatable is like Dynavolt Tower. It's a 3 mana artifact. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you get 2 energy. And then you can tap and pay 5 energy, and then Dynavolt Tower deals 3 damage to any target. It's been reworded. So that I think that's there's a few artifact things that when you cast instants, then it kind of charges them up, and then you can do a bunch of damage. So you could consider stuff like that to do removal as well.
I put in I'm throwing it over into the maybe board, but because Eluge is so big and gives us so much cost reduction, we can do arguably one of the funniest things in Magic in this deck if we want, and that is using Sudden Substitution, which is a split-second card. I'm going to put it over here, but Sudden Substitution is a split-second, 2 double blue. You exchange control of target non-creature spell and target creature. Then the spell's controller may choose new targets for it. Because Eluge gives us such a heavy reduction, we do have the way to ultimate meme an opponent we don't like by raw casting Eternal Dominion, which is a 10 mana sorcery, 7 triple blue. Search target opponent's library for an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land, put it on the battlefield under your control, then that player shuffles, and it has epic. So we can shut down the ability for anyone to have any spells with this silly combo that we can get off, because we're only going to have to pay the 4 to Sudden Substitution it, and we're going to take whatever creature they have is the biggest. I think it's I'm leaving it as a maybe board, but it's a very, very funny direction to go. I've gotten things like that off the Sudden Substitution into you lose the game cards, or a really nice way to do it is something like Enter the Infinite. Again, another huge mana cost. If somebody has like a draw 2 on the stack and we enter the Infinite them, they draw their whole library, then draw 2. It's kind of funny. It's a fun little way to kill people, but you know, it is what it is. Let's cut a few things here. What do we want to?
If people leaning in that direction, then sure.
Again, if you get the Eternal Dominion off, it's pretty funny. In a worst case scenario as well, it's not horrible for us if we want to keep doing it. But I think if you cast it yourself, you want more of like a Memnarch commander where you can like at least still do things or activate abilities. But making somebody have the epic ability is really, really funny. I have a deck that's all about flash, and it does all of those things. Like it's a Hive Mind deck.
Okay.
And then it's I flash like the Enduring Swarm, Ideal, Dominion. I flash all of them out, all of the annoying Eternal cards, and then every time anyone casts an instant or sorcery, they're just playing epic with me. What do we want to cut from this list here? We've got 9 cards to cut. I already cut us down to 32 lands because of Lorien. You know what? Let's go back up to 33 lands. I feel like we should still have 33.
Yeah, we don't want to.
We don't want to go too low.
Too low. Yeah. Maybe what we can do is cut something that's a bit expensive, because one of the things that's going to happen in this deck is if we put too many expensive cards in there.
Yeah, we're going to draw dead hands.
There's going to be a lot of dead hands. So.
Oh, I put Wrong Turn in. Wrong Turn is also another just maybe board card. It's annoying. Wrong Turn is target opponent gains control of target creature. I think that's very funny to give people's commander away. You know, Thunder's threatening me. I Wrong Turn. Now Thunder doesn't have his commander. Someone else has it. Respect my deals.
Yeah, I like Wrong Turn. It's fun. I still want to build a deck around those shenanigans.
I do love shenanigans. So I moved Wrong Turn into our maybe board. 9 more. We have a heavy draw section. We've got good ramp. We have good enough ramp. Our draw kind of acts as a secondary ramp.
Yeah.
Dika is pretty good, but Dika's expensive. I feel like our token section, we have got a lot of expensive stuff. And we can't free cast a lot of it is the problem.
Yeah.
Do we want to get rid of Dika? Because Dika's a 5-mana one. Talrand and Elandra are both 4, so they're pretty solid.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at 5, I'd much rather have the metallurgic summonings and the ability to bring everything back.
Yeah.
So let's move Dika to sideboard.
We could also put Bitterthorn and Mrs. Animus in the sideboard, because it's one of the more expensive cards in the deck.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do
maybe take Engulf the Shore out, because it's that it's nice, but it can have that downside. Maybe that's another one that you played if you feel like you can handle it.
Yeah. Do we want to drop Mirari? Mirari's a little expensive.
Yeah, we can put Mirari aside, I think, because
sideboard. Yeah.
It's like if you're gonna go the copy route, then maybe you take out the steel, or maybe copy and steel together works really well. But yeah, it's a bit expensive, so we can take that out. I think that's fine.
Complete the circuit. Do we want to move that one? Because it is that double copy is it's a pretty overkill. Yeah. I'll maybe board that. That's usually
why I take it out. It's like it's doing so much. Like I find it's probably a win con. You should build around it as a win con. So
I always make like a budget version, and it's only 49 cents. So I'll put it over into like a budget version of the deck.
Yeah.
But no, I think we're looking pretty good. We've got 5 cards to move. We have lots of cool extra islands. Oh, I wanted to put in a Traveler's Amulet as well, just because it's another really good, a nice, really, really good, cheap, go get a basic land. 1 and 1, so.
Maybe we take Born Upon a Wind out, because it's not really doing all that much, and it might be anti-synergy.
Okay. Born Upon a Wind we've moved. Curse the Swine we need. Lorien revealed
maybe we take
good.
out one of the X draw spells.
Maybe Pull from Tomorrow, because it can only hit other people. The other ones can sideboard it. Yeah, Pull from Tomorrow can only hit us, whereas Stroke of Genius and our Blue Sun Zenith, that kind of stuff, that can hit both people.
Yeah, target player.
Yeah.
Well, even the score only is ourselves as well. But yeah.
Even the Score is only us? Let's move Even the Score over as well then. Even the Score is a good card though. 3 more to go. Because all these can jump back into the budget version, they're pretty cheap.
Traveler's Amulet we can take out probably.
Move Traveler's Amulet to sideboard?
Yeah. It's one of those ones, it's like I'd rather just draw the island.
That's fair. 3 steps ahead, I think we move. Counter, create a token of target artifact or creature. We don't really have many.
It's €6. It's a little expensive, so
it's
we can put
$12 here. 12 Monopoly monies. And then one last one to move. Honestly, I kind of like all the cards we have. Do we want to keep the Dynavolt in?
Yeah, I feel like we need some repetition for removal if we can get it.
Yeah, just to be able to bolt some players kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe we've got 10 draw.
Burnished Heart's a little expensive for what we're doing. Let's move Burnished Heart over.
Yeah, it pains me, but yeah, probably can take that out.
Yeah, again, easy to slot into like a budget version, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like it. We have a pretty solid looking deck here, I would say. I've got to sort some of these things into their actual categories. Illusion is.
I think it's a deck that looks a lot of fun because we got some really like you're not going to expect it to happen kind of stuff.
I think it's really easy to look at an Eluge deck and think they're going free counter spells, they're going extra turns, right? Because it's pretty easy to build a full control route. So I'm glad that we both had like a similar idea of not going that way and more just kind of synergy, protect ourselves things.
Yeah, I very seldom build counterspell extra turn type decks.
The problem is it gets old really fast.
Yeah. Oh, it's like it also is. I think it feels really strong. Like the Will deck that I built, it has a similar situation. It's in blue and white, and whatever life you gain, then you tap Will, and that reduces the cost of spells.
Yeah, it's kind of one that just kind of plays itself thing.
All spells that you're going to cost, I think. Or was it just the next one? Something like that. But it just makes things broken, like really, really broken.
Yeah.
Then your opponents are just sitting there and you're just having your turns.
Well, yeah. Because that's such a big reduction from the Will. Honestly, Will and Rowan should have had partner with like a life gain, life loss theme. I still need to make the partner of those two creatures.
I feel they're so strong.
Yeah.
I mean, I've built the 4 of these that have that similar type of thing. The Rowan I've built, and that's just very silly, stupid.
Yep.
Will is very control-y, extra turns, lots of life gain. Agatha is whatever her power is, reduce abilities of creatures. So you can just combo people out with that.
Yeah.
Because
it's so big, so fast.
3 damage for like 1 mana or whatever, or just make her really big, like pump her up 1 mana, make her like huge and just Voltron people. And then there's Elminster, who reacts with Scry. So when you Scry, it reduces the cost of the spells that you're going to cast next.
I love that Elminster, yeah.
Yeah.
I played.
I was very nervous with him because of the exile part of his abilities.
Yep.
But the amount of fairy dragons you get makes it worth it.
I played against like a competitive deck of Elminster, and it was a Proteus staff deck to flicker into Elish Norn.
Ooh.
So yeah, you'd flip through those the fairies, you flip into Elish Norn. And then you get like all of your, like the scry's so big, you've got so many of those silly fairies. It's such an obnoxious anthem to get to. And it was all counterspell stuff. It was all draw stuff to get to that Proteus staff. And it flooded the board. It was a really, really cool deck.
Yeah.
Mine is just a silly, I want to scry things deck. I'm a simple boy.
Yeah, I think mine was also more just try and get as much scry happening as possible. And then a few very big items that I try and put on the top. So I can, like, it kept feeling like it was like, get out a few fairy dragons, then get out a lot of fairy dragons. And then everybody's in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
There's those white cards that are like, when a creature enters, give other creatures +1/+1. Very broken.
Yeah. No, I'm happy with this one. Do we want to call it here on this? Like I said, I'm gonna make a budget version like I always do. We're not too expensive here. We're $224 for I think a pretty fun seeming and pretty powerful deck. It's very, very different than the route I went, which is cool.
I like it. I like it a lot. I like the steel shenanigans and the
it's a place to play some
weird,
some weird things you don't see, like that Sea Singer.
Yeah.
No one really plays Sea Singer, right? I like it. Let me roll this outro here. Thank you guys for listening to another live brew. If you like our content, go over to intothe99.com. Everything's there. Great articles by Thunder as well. Great articles there, so go check them out. If you enjoy what we're doing, like, share, subscribe. It means a lot. It helps people see it. It helps people see that, oh yeah, these guys are entertaining and, might have some silly ideas. I was going to say know what they're talking about, but based on how I build, that is not true. So yeah, just come over and everything like that. If you want to go above and beyond, like, share, subscribe, which is, come on, a bare minimum, guys. Patreon's a great place to come over and chat, brew decks, just kind of see what's going on. We have an event that'll be this weekend that this comes out, so we'll be doing a live panel. Hopefully I can get some video footage for that and everything like that. I might put more of it like for Patreon kind of thing and everything, but yeah, it should be fun. So yeah, other than AI armor sleeves, great sleeves, go buy them. They are wonderful and they should be on all decks. Eluge is a great commander to put into AI armor sleeves. There is a code in our bio for it, so go buy them, support them. They're great people. As well as House of Cards is a great spot to go get any list. Promo code IT99 is going to get you a discount, which is awesome. They're very, very nice. I've met them at lots of the conventions and everything. I like the owners. I like the staff. House of Cards rocks. So support them. It's a great spot to go get it. And then if there's anything expensive, proxy it at Abyss Proxy Shop. Promo code IT99. But buy the real ones anyways. That's it. I gotta put their logo in my outro screen. That's it there. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.